Well, hello, and thank you for joining us today for our online teaching as we continue in our series, Simply Jesus, looking at the I am statements Jesus made about himself throughout the Gospel of John. And each of Jesus' statements reveals something to us about who Jesus is, the kind of relationship he wants to have with us, and what he wants to do through us. And today we're looking at two I am statements Jesus made in John chapter 10, verse 10, where Jesus says, I am the gate for the sheep, and I am the good shepherd. And what we will see today is that as the gate and as our good shepherd, Jesus came to bring our life meaning and fulfillment. He fills the void in our lives and makes us complete. So when we keep our eyes on Jesus and we do what he's asking us to do, he'll protect us from the things that we think give us life, but actually don't. And he will lead us toward things that actually give us life. Now, life is full of things that promise us life, but don't actually deliver. We all experience this. These are the things when we think of our vision of our preferred future, where we assume, hey, once I arrive there, or once I experience that, then I will have meaning, then I will be fulfilled. We think it'll make us happy. These are things like going out and seeing the world more, landing that promotion, meeting that special someone. We set our sights on these various pursuits, think when we get there, we'll finally experience the good life, the life we've always wanted. But often, whatever it is we've set out to achieve or accomplish, it doesn't actually fill the void. Even as we arrive to the destination or get whatever it is we wanted, we're still left with disappointment when we realize that thing, whatever it was, didn't lead us to the abundant top shelf life we thought it would. And you know exactly what this is like because it's something we all have experienced as kids. And it's true the first time you ever went to an arcade prize room. That's right. If you've ever been to a Dave & Buster's or Big Al's or Kingpin, Chuck E. Cheese, these always have an arcade with a prize room. And at the top shelf of every prize room are the best prizes. When I was a kid, I remember looking up to see a brand new bike. They had a bike just hanging from the ceiling. And right next to the bike was a new Nintendo Entertainment System. If you've been more recently, maybe you saw an iPad or a PlayStation 5. But do you remember the feeling you had the first time you held a big pile of tickets and you brought those tickets to that prize room and you looked up at all the glimmering things on that top row? You were filled with optimism, hope, and wonder. You thought, whoa, I'm going to win all of those. But in reality, here's the experience most of us had growing up. Most kids have today. You went to your parents and you said, Mom, Dad, give me $5. Then you took your $5, you exchanged them for tokens. You took those tokens and you went on a quest for tickets. Games like, do you remember Down the Clown? You take that ball and you chuck it out to peg those clowns right in the faces. Every clown face you knock over, you get a few tickets. Or how about one of my favorites, the coin pusher? It's that super addicting game where you drop a bunch of coins down and they sort of trickle down and land on a shelf moving back and forth. As the shelf moves back, it pushes the coins so that they cascade off the edge and makes this really satisfying noise. Get a bunch of tickets there. Or how about when you tried your luck at the jackpot game? When the light goes around and around and you try to line it up just right to hit the button when it's on jackpot. Maybe you even hit the jackpot. You win 500 tickets. You spend your last few coins on skee bowl. Now you are holding hundreds of tickets. And in that moment, you feel really good about yourself. Like the tickets in your hand now confirm that, yes, the confidence, the optimism you had when you first walked in and you looked at those prizes, it was rightly placed. Yes, your life will never be the same. From this day forward, you will never be bored again. You don't even need to go to the arcade anymore because those prizes you're taking home with you, you're basically taking the arcade with you. Like you have arrived. But as you take your tickets up to the ticket counter, you tell the gatekeeper of the prizes how many tickets you have. Something unexpected happens. See, what you expect to happen in that moment is that the keeper of the prizes is going to point out to the top row. And he's going to ask, which one do you want, the bike or the Nintendo? But instead of gesturing to the top shelf, they gesture below, to the bottom shelf, that glass cabinet by their feet. And in that glass cabinet, you look to see a finger trap. You think, what? Like maybe there's a styrofoam plane in there, some silly putty, candy miniatures, but no good ones. Like there's Fruities and Twizzlers, the ones that nobody really cares about. And in that moment, your heart is crushed. You feel disillusioned, deceived, tricked. Like what began with this big, exciting vision of what all of your hard work and effort would accomplish, you end up walking out the door with a finger trap and a Tootsie Roll. You think all this work, all this time, all this money produced one of these. You would have been better off just using your $5 to purchase whatever toy that money could have afforded you. The top shelf promised the good life, but you were left with disappointment. Now, this arcade escapade mirrors an experience that carries with us all throughout life. Whenever we set out with an idea of what we hope will bring us life, a vision of our preferred future that's waiting out there for us, we have an expectation that if we work the plan, if we invest in the right things, we will get that top shelf life, the life we've always wanted. But in reality, we're often left with disappointment. Now, we all know what this feels like. Maybe there was a time when your family was going through something difficult. You were struggling in your relationship with your kids. And so you think, hey, I would have a better relationship with my kids if we went on better vacations. Like if my family could just go on a better vacation, we'd have something to look forward to. We'd finally be happy as a family. So what do? You put all your weight, all your expectation into that vacation, and then you book it. It's on the calendar. Everyone's looking forward to it. And you think, yes, this is hard. Life is difficult. But once we get that vacation, we're all going to be unified and happy, and it's all going to work out. But then you finally get on that vacation, and you realize, this is just us in a different geographical location, but it's still us. So you come back and you're still tired. And by the end of it, you think, I need a vacation from my vacation. Or maybe you feel lonely. And so you think, I just need to meet that special someone. And then you do. You maybe even start dating, you get engaged, you get married, but marriage is still difficult. There's communication issues. You still feel lonely. And all the weight and all the pressure you put on these things to deliver, they don't actually make you complete. We're left feeling disappointed. Now, what makes these disappointments even worse is when we look around, we can see people who have arrived. Like they don't look disappointed at all. They made it to the top shelf life and they're living it up. You look at their life or what they post on social media and you think they don't struggle with their kids. Their marriage is fine, or they moved into that new home. I've been working the system here. I have tickets. Maybe you've been saving. You're working multiple jobs, but with interest rates and challenges, the goal of owning that home seems to get further and further away the faster you climb towards it. So when we see others who have arrived and we haven't got there yet, it's easy to assume, well, there must be something wrong with me. Like if I worked harder, or I made better decisions, I would have arrived. So you think there must be something wrong with me. If we worked the formula, we should have been able to land the home. We should have had a better family. Our marriage should be working out. And we all have formulas. See, the formula we worked at as kids in the arcade went something like this. Money will get me tokens. Tokens will get me tickets. Tickets get me prizes, and prizes will give me happiness. But as adults, we come up with new formulas. Success will give me more money. More money will get me more stuff. More stuff will buy me happiness, and happiness, well, that's the good life. See, while the formula to get to the top shelf is different, the result is the same. Disappointment. We bring our tickets to the counter thinking, now I will finally feel complete, fulfilled, and happy, but are left unsatisfied. It's like what Thomas Merton once said. People may spend their whole lives climbing the ladder of success only to find, once they reach the top, that the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. As we climb closer and closer towards our goals, only to realize that we've been leaning in on all the wrong things that don't actually lead us to life. There's an emptiness and a void that remains. We're left feeling insignificant, with an ache in our soul for goodness, meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. But thankfully, there's something better than chasing tickets. There's something better than working the same old formulas to have the void in our life remain. And that brings us to our I am statement from Jesus this week. Jesus is the good shepherd who came to bring our life meaning and fulfillment. He fills the void in our life and makes us complete. And when we keep our eyes on Jesus and do what he's asking us to do, he protects us from things we think will give us life, but actually don't. And he leads us towards things that actually give us life. Jesus helps us recognize what will and won't give us life, and he'll lead us toward experiencing a satisfying life. Now, we read about this in John chapter 10, starting in verse 1. It says this: "Now I tell you the truth. Anyone who sneaks over the wall of a sheepfold rather than going through the gate must surely be a thief and a robber. But the one who enters through the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep recognize his voice, and they come to him. He calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. After he has gathered his own flock, he walks ahead of them, and they follow him because they know his voice. They won't follow a stranger. They will run from him because they don't know his voice." Those who heard Jesus use this illustration didn't understand what he meant, so he explained it to them. "I tell you the truth, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me were thieves and robbers, but the true sheep did not listen to them. Yes, I am the gate. Those who come in through me will be saved. They will come and go freely and will find good pastures. The thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. A hired hand will run when he sees a wolf coming. He will abandon the sheep because they don't belong to him and he isn't their shepherd. And so the wolf attacks them and scatters the flock. The hired hand runs away because he's working only for the money and he doesn't really care about the sheep." So in these passages, Jesus makes two I am statements. I am the gate of the sheep, and I am the good shepherd. When we learn to recognize Jesus as the gate and as the good shepherd, that's how we experience the abundant life Jesus came to give us. There's a few things we need to know about shepherds and gates in the ancient Middle East before we can understand what Jesus is saying here. First, the role of the shepherd. A shepherd is someone who is committed to the good of the sheep. The shepherd's job is to care for, protect, lead, and guide the sheep. And the tools of the shepherd were really simple. They used a rod and a staff. These are the two oldest tools around. The tools might ring a bell for many of us when we think of Psalm 23. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So first, the rod. The rod was a defensive tool used for protecting, to ward off predators, the enemies of the sheep. Its primary purpose is to protect the sheep. And sheep need protecting. Actual sheep are very defenseless. They need lots of protection and guidance, and they will be hopeless without a shepherd. They'll fall prey to all sorts of predators. So the rod served as a defensive tool to fight off the enemies of the sheep. And the second tool, the staff. The staff is all about leading the sheep. Sheep have a tendency to wander and get off course. They have a tendency to fall into places where they shouldn't be. So if they wandered too far to the right or too far to the left, the shepherd would use the staff to give them a nudge in the direction back to the path. Or if they fell in a ditch, the staff had this crook on the end of it that the shepherd could use to scoop them up and put them back on the right path. And this is what Jesus means when he refers to himself as the good shepherd. Everything Jesus does in your life will be towards these goals, protecting you and leading you. See, he'll either be protecting you from things that you think right now in your life are giving you life. You think they're making you complete, but they aren't good for you. They're a counterfeit. They're killing, stealing, and destroying you. Or he'll be leading you back towards abundant life when you get off track. This is the role of the shepherd. Now, the second thing we need to understand about the ancient Middle East to grasp what Jesus is saying concerns the purpose of the gate. The purpose of the gate. Now, in the desert areas at night, sheep were often herded into these walled enclosures. They backed up against a cliff face or were located at the end of a canyon. And the enclosures had waist-high stone walls topped with thorny branches to keep the sheep safe from predators who might try to get in. The enclosure had one entrance and one exit, the gate. And this gate was guarded by a good shepherd. Every day, the good shepherd would enter and exit through this one gate and call the sheep by name. So over time, as the sheep kept their eyes on the shepherd and saw him enter and exit through the same gate and hear him call them by name, they would learn to recognize who the good shepherd is. He's the one who sacrifices. He's the one who gives up his comfort. Shepherds would actually lay down and sleep in the gate throughout the night to watch over and care for the sheep. That's the good shepherd. But not all shepherds were good. Not everyone has the best interests in mind for these sheep, because there were predators, there's wolves, there's thieves, and there's robbers, and they don't go through the gate. The robbers climb over the wall. So this is how the sheep recognized the good shepherd from the predators. When they kept their eyes on the shepherd and listened to his voice, they would see who the good shepherd is and who the bad ones are. The good one goes in and out of the main gate. The bad one climbs over the wall. The good one knows the sheep by name and will call them by name. The bad one does not. The good one sacrifices his life for the sheep. The bad one comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So what Jesus is saying here when he says, I'm the gate, is this: I need you to be able to discern the difference between the good shepherd and the robber, between who Jesus is and the life he's inviting you into, and the things that are climbing over the wall in your life, the things you think are good for you, but are actually killing, stealing, and destroying, the things that don't lead you to a full and satisfying life. They're actually sucking the life out of you. They don't love you. They falsely promise life, but will always end in disappointment. And the way you will know the difference is through sacrifice. See, sacrifice is the proof of love. And Jesus sacrificed his life for us. He died on the cross and gave his life for us. So when we keep our eyes on Jesus, the one who gave his life, we'll be able to see the difference between the things we're pursuing that are climbing over the wall that aren't actually giving us life, and the good shepherd who is. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. The other things just take from us. They destroy us by hurting our relationship with God and our relationship with others. Now, Jesus makes this distinction between thieves and robbers who don't look out for the sheep and the good shepherd who sacrifices his life for the sheep really clear in verse 10. He puts it this way: the thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. We can think of this as the true top shelf life, not what we think the top shelf life is, but what it actually is. The word for rich and satisfying life is perissos. It means exceedingly, very highly, beyond measure, more, a quantity so abundant as to be considerably more than what one would expect or anticipate. That's the kind of life Jesus came to offer us. He is the one who leads you to a full and rich life. He sacrificed his life so we would listen to his voice, keep our eyes on him. We would let him protect us from things that aren't giving us life. We would let him lead us back to life whenever we get off track. See, Jesus is the gate, and Jesus is the good shepherd. So how does this play out? What does it look like then to get to know and love and follow the one who is the gate, who is the good shepherd? Well, here's a few things for us to consider with our time today. First, ask yourself this: what things are climbing over the wall in your life? Ask yourself, what things in my life do I keep turning to that don't actually give me life, that aren't helping me? They never fill the void. The things I need to do over and over and over again, but they never satisfy. Maybe it's addictions. Maybe it's the way you spend your time or your money, the things you look at or think about. Maybe it's a habit like comparison or the need to control or the need to be perfect. Maybe it's relationships or the need to be approved by others. As you consider this question, some other helpful questions to ask yourself might be this: does it love you? Whatever that thing is, does it love you? Because Jesus gave his life for you. Is it good for you? We know the thief comes to rob, kill, and destroy. Or what does it offer you? Because Jesus said, I have come so that you may have life and might have it more abundantly. Have you ever noticed that the things that we put so much pressure on to make us complete can end up being exhausting, all-consuming? We sacrifice our time, our family, we lose our health, we stress out and are filled with anxiety as we strive to attain these things, and then we strive to maintain whatever it is we're chasing. Like maybe it's two people who feel incomplete. They're not whole. But they think somehow getting married, two incomplete people coming together, will make them both fulfilled and have meaning. Maybe it's a career we think will reignite our purpose, chasing the bigger house, hoping the next video game release on the calendar will finally fill the void when it comes out. In each case, we put way too much pressure on these things, and it ends up just being exhausting. It's like when I decided to upgrade from the minivan to the 3-row SUV. When our kids were first born, we got a minivan, and it worked out great for a time. But 4 kids and 9 years later, that minivan had been absolutely destroyed. Like, this isn't our van, but it could have been a picture of our van. I remember when we first moved here, we drove a kid to and from youth group in the minivan. And when we dropped them off, they were so traumatized by how trashed and dirty that minivan was. They told their parents, I'm never going in that van again. It was a mess. All the fast food eaten over the years in the seats that had once been nice leather were now scuffed by dirty shoes. There were Cheerios and goldfish thrown all over the place, lodged in every crevice of every seat. Animal crackers in places animal crackers shouldn't be. There was artwork carved into some of the seats. And as a result of all the food, there was a time where a rat came in and chewed through the seats, but not only the seats, even some of the seat belts. So we thought, this isn't even safe anymore, let alone how dirty it is. It's time for a new car. And let me tell you, the feeling I had the moment we sold that nasty old minivan and we turned in the keys, and I was handed the new keys to that 3-row SUV, and we drove it off the lot, it was incredible. I felt like I'd graduated. But then as we pulled into the driveway of our home, it dawned on me, this isn't just my car. This is the family car. I'm not the only one driving this car every day. My entire family will be in this car very soon. Probably later today, my 4 kids are going to want to bring all the same things that trashed the minivan. All the goldfish, all the tiny feet that left the scuff marks, all the fast food. They're used to the minivan side door that would open while hugging the side of the minivan. Now they're just going to want to fling that door open and dent the cars next to us. All of these images flooded my mind and I panicked. So I came inside and I called a family meeting. I said, kids, we got a new car. And they said, hooray. I said, stop celebrating. There will be no food. You are taking off your shoes whenever you enter the car. There will be no mess, no artwork. You open the door very slowly. My wife just looked at me like, are you insane? Are you serious? This lasted about 2 days before I drove my family absolutely nuts. Why? Because I put so much pressure on this thing, this car, to give meaning, to benefit and upgrade our life, that it ended up being exhausting. The thing I was so excited about, thinking it would help us out, just gave anxiety, hurt my relationship with my family, and drove everyone crazy. See, this is what happens when we put way too much pressure on experiences and things to give us life. Attempting to find life and fulfillment through great experiences or acquiring more stuff only ends up taking from us. Even though we set out to find life with these pursuits, we see that they kill, steal, and destroy. It just produces emptiness and loss of meaning. So this is why we ask ourselves, does this really love me? Is this thing really good for me? Is this something the Good Shepherd is leading me towards? Or am I just putting so much pressure on this thing to make me complete? Because here's the thing. The only thing that will actually make us complete in this life is our relationship with Jesus. When we trust in him, we put our faith in him, we are complete. We lack nothing. See, Jesus, when he died on the cross, he said, it is finished. I have done everything necessary for you to be complete. But when we look out at other things outside our relationship with Jesus to make them complete, we put way too much pressure on that thing, whatever it is. So take a moment to think through those things where you've been putting too much pressure on them to give you life because only Jesus can. And then, once you've done that, expect to be corrected and led into new experiences. Those tools of the shepherd aren't just for show. He has a rod and he has a staff. I always thought it was interesting. Psalm 23 says, your rod and your staff, they what? They comfort me. See, comfort isn't the word we typically use when we're going the wrong way and someone points it out. Even if it's a well-meaning, well-intentioned person we trust, whose heart is in the right place, it can still be really difficult to listen to correction or criticism. See, no one likes it when someone looks at the choices we make and asks, hey, how's that going for you? Yeah, how's that going for me? Yeah, hook up, shack up, break up, repeat. How's that working out for you in your relationships? Well, it's not. We don't like receiving that kind of correction. But Jesus has his rod and the staff to lead us into new experiences. And so as followers of Jesus, we can expect this. We all have things in our life right now that we're currently pursuing, hoping they will bring our life meaning and fulfillment, will finally be complete if we just get that thing. And we can expect that right now, today, there are areas where Jesus will show up and change direction in our life to let us know, hey, I have something so much better for you. That's actually not going to pay off or deliver in the way you think it will. I think you're putting all of your hope and expectation and weight into this thing to make you happy or fulfill you and make you complete. And I just want you to know you're complete in your relationship with me. Maybe you can still enjoy that thing or move into that, but I came to bring you life. So keep your eyes on me. Listen to my voice every day as I call you by name. Notice my sacrifice for you. Remember what I've done for you on the cross. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus because he has something better in mind for you than just chasing tickets. So expect to be corrected and led into new experiences. And then finally, listen to Jesus and do what he's asking you to do. If you've not started a relationship with Jesus, today is the day. This is an incredible opportunity you have to trust in him. Even though we get it wrong, even though we have pride and greed, we all fall short, we all get it wrong, Jesus loves you. He gave his life. He died on the cross and he rose from the dead. And when you put your faith and your trust and your hope in him, he forgives you of all of your sin. He makes you new and sets your life on an entirely new path. See, I met Jesus in my first year of college. And I'd grown up going to church periodically, mostly Christmas and Easter. I stopped going to church in middle school and completely went in the opposite direction in high school. I didn't want anything to do with God or religion. And I found meaning and fulfillment temporarily through partying, through relationships, through drugs and alcohol. That's what I threw my life into and invested in. Now, that all came to a point in my first year of college when I came home during winter break. After staying up all night partying, a friend invited me to go to church, which made no sense. But I thought, hey, let's go with this. They said we could get a Starbucks on the way, so I said, great. As long as I can get a Starbucks, I'm in. So we got a coffee, we drove over to the church, and when I walked in, I didn't really understand what was going on. People were singing with their hands raised. It was all a bit of a culture shock. But at some point, someone got up on stage and opened a Bible to John 10, verse 10. The passage we looked at today. And they said, the thief comes only to kill, steal, and destroy. And I looked at my life and the addictions and the darkness and the hopelessness, and I thought, kill, steal, destroy. I felt that. But Jesus came to bring you life, and so you would have it to the full. And hey, I didn't have all the answers. I didn't have everything figured out. I just knew I needed Jesus. So I gave my life to Jesus. And from that day forward, Jesus, he lifted me up out of the miry clay. He set my feet upon a rock. He established my steps. He put a new song in my mouth and led me in an entirely new direction. And this is available to you today. So give your life to Jesus. Listen to his voice. Set your eyes on him today. He will save you and lead you towards his plans and purposes for your life. And for those of you who do know, love, and follow Jesus, you've been following him, keep leaning into what Jesus is asking you to do. Provide opportunities for others to get to know Jesus so they can experience Jesus as the gate, so they can experience Jesus as the good shepherd. Maybe it's through hosting a rooted group or stepping into community with men's and women's community. Maybe it's volunteering in kids or students. But you could be a part of God's work in inspiring people to know, love, and follow Jesus. You can facilitate conversation for others to ask questions like, what's climbing over the wall in your life? What's Jesus inviting you to do when you listen to his voice? What does it look like for you to lean in to do what Jesus is asking you to do? Jesus is the gate. Jesus is the good shepherd. He came to bring our life meaning and fulfillment by filling the void in us and making us complete. When we keep our eyes on him and do what he's asking us to do, he will protect us from the things that don't give us life and lead us towards the abundant life he came to give. Let's pray. God, thank you so much that you are life. You are the good shepherd. You are the gate. Lord, we thank you that you lead us towards your plans and purposes. God, we want to trust you together today with our life, with our future, with the circumstances we find ourselves in, that you will lead us and guide us. We thank you for your great love. We thank you for your grace. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you.